I got a new lens. You know, as I'm exploring my creative expression and what feels good, what doesn't, I think I like the quality and filming intentionally with my camera. But the reason why I fell out of love with filming with this camera was because I felt like the amount of effort for the results that I got was not satisfying. I want to feel proud of my creations, but I don't want to feel burdened or pressure by it. So kind of balancing those two. I really hope that I like it. I'll see you with the new lens. Ooh, look at this. Do I like it? Ah! Okay, we'll see. Cheddar, let's go home. Cheater, oh. Oh. I want to share some recent shifts that have happened within me. I know every video there is a shift going on, but you know what? That is life right now. That is life. I feel like I am questioning myself a lot these days and trying to come back to, or trying to build myself into a version of me or an embodiment that actually feels good, empowering, and it doesn't feel like I'm causing more suffering to anyone through that. I feel like I haven't been able to be myself in a really long time, including on my channel as well. But I guess specifically for the in-person communities that I've been attending, I feel like I have been constantly performing. This has come to my attention because several days ago, my partner, with the most loving and sweetest intentions, said to me that, you know, he just shared an observation that he feels like sometimes I could be performative to people. And for me, you know, I guess where I was at during that day, and, you know, now I know that it struck a chord, but at that time I was in denial of it and I took it really personally, and I was just like, no, that's not true. I'm not performative. I'm not you know, I'm me. You know what's a good sign that there's truth in maybe what someone is bringing to your attention? How personally we end up taking it. Because if it wasn't true at all, I could have just been like, oh yeah, let's talk more about it, I'm curious. But immediately there was this defensiveness that came up within me. And after sitting with that for a couple of days, I started to see what he was trying to point out. I think I want to start this off by sharing with you guys that I did not realize this before, but I have internalized a lot of insecurity and self-doubt from my friendship endings. Even though I've been talking about it in a very empowering and love-based way, the truth is on the other side of the coin. It came with a lot of grief a lot of sadness. I guess like one specific friendship connection that meant so much to me. And this person was the one who initiated the breakup because I think that at that time they were seeing something within our dynamic that I wasn't accepting. But I really wanted this person's validation and love. And I really wanted this person to be a sister for the rest of my life. As our friendship was getting more and more rocky, I was so attached to this person that I was, by the last few months of our friendship, changing myself so much. It was really for this person. It was so that I would receive their validation. It was so that I could convince them to lean back in again. I don't blame anyone for how it ended or why it ended or just like anything that has happened, because truly everyone played their roles perfectly. Every single person that has come into my life and that has left served their purpose. And I have also served my purpose in their lives too. For this specific friendship, because it meant so much to me, I was doing everything I can to, I guess, like change myself, to convince this person and also to convince myself that we were compatible. But looking back, we actually weren't, which was why I needed to change myself so much, because of all of that changing that I have done around this time last year for this person. I spent the following year, so up until that point to now, still residing in that expression and really trying to make it stick, because I was scared that if I didn't change into this person that I, tried to morph into for this previous friend, then I wouldn't be able to be liked. I wouldn't be accepted, or just like people wouldn't be able to see the good in me and my natural expression. This bled into how I was showing up in the community gatherings that I started to go to. I was really diluting my intensity, and not intensity as in, up in your face, just taking up as much space as possible. But just when someone is so authentic to themselves, there's just this natural intensity that comes from them. Maybe concentration is a better word. There's this concentratedness of like, oh yeah, the liquid is thick, But for me, I was not sure of who I was anymore from, everything that happened, where I was subconsciously making myself as diluted as possible and as acceptable as possible to try to find belonging in these new spaces. Some ways that I have been showing up in these new spaces is just like being very, very conscious of how kind and soft I appear. Because for that other friendship that I was talking about, one of the incompatibilities was our natural expression of sensitivity and softness. And I think this person, because my natural expression wasn't as soft or sensitive or like in tune as hers. Once again, this isn't to like point any fingers. It was just like, it was hard for us to accept each other where we were naturally at. And in many ways that she has subtly projected shame and non-acceptance towards me, I have also done that to her. So by no means am I a victim or just a person where, I had no role in this. I had such a big role in how this all panned out too. But I started to feel like my natural directness and my confidence or my just like intensity was something to be ashamed of, especially because of the new spaces that I'm going to, where it's about mindfulness and presence, emotional regulation. I was feeding into these beliefs of, oh yeah, like they wouldn't really like the more intense or direct or concentrated expression of mine. I've become someone over this past year who started to be very unsure of my forwardness, of how to be forward, of how to just rest securely within me. And I found myself constantly mirroring whoever I was talking to instead of standing strong in whatever came up for me naturally. For actually a lot of my life, I don't think that I have found an expression where I was consistent with every single person that I came across. I know that it's normal to have different sides of your personality come out with different people, but for me, it was, I feel like maybe a little bit too different to the point where I felt confused at the end. And especially recently, with meeting these new people, I caught myself believing in this idea that I need to warm up to someone, I need to warm up to a space, I need to just like all of these conditions before I could actually express the fullness of who I am. But I was talking to myself the other day and I was like, why do I need to do that? You know, like, why do I need to warm up to people or to places before I'm just authentically me? I feel like I'm a grown adult and I just want to be able to show up as me. That way, when I do get to have these mini or meaningful conversations with anyone, no matter how big or small the interaction is, it just feels moving in some capacity because I showed up as me. But it felt like a lot of my interactions with anyone who I came across with didn't fully move me, didn't feel satisfying, because they didn't actually interact with me. They interacted with this representative that I was sending out. But also at the same time, I'm really grateful for how this past friendship has caused me to change, because I do think that how I was showing up back then, there was an element of self-righteousness and coldness, mean-spiritedness there. What my previous friendships have taught me is how to, reside in this more empowered or concentrated expression of mine, but also hold space for other people and their expression and their emotions and their experiences. I think I was definitely underdeveloped in that skill back then, honestly. Even though those previous friendships caused me to doubt myself a lot, those things didn't happen so that I would internalize insecurity. It happened so that I would bring more balance to my expression, but not necessarily change who I fundamentally am. And some days it genuinely feels authentic to be more reserved or to feel shy, to feel like really, really soft, like silken tofu. So I think what all of these interpersonal connections taught me is how to access different parts of myself so that I wouldn't be so out of balance. And now I kind of feel like I could come back into those traits that, I occupied back then, but without this side effect of causing suffering for others. I actually find that people light up way more often when they're talking to the real me instead of a performative me. People have, I could like see it in their eyes, like they have a glimmer, it like shines a bit. It's like, oh, like, who are you? But when I'm just, performing or not feeling that comfortable to be myself because I have all of these conditions of when and where I could finally express me, when I do show up a bit protective and closed off and hesitant, my interactions with others, it just feels stale and pale. Stale and pale. I love all parts of me and I want to find courage to show up authentically again and not swing the pendulum too far to the side. Because sometimes after a season of disempowerment, we could think that in order to counteract that, we start swinging the pendulum all the way to the other side and start acting with like this coldness or mean-spiritedness or like, I'm the shit, like that type of mentality of like, F everyone else. I don't want to to swing that far. I just want to find the middle way. The middle way. And what is the middle way for me? It's holding the paradox of my human expression and accepting that I am everything and none of it and all in between. I guess whatever expression I choose, I could love myself. I could be grateful for myself. I could acknowledge that I am acting from insecurity or from this fear of being disliked and be like, that's okay. That's that's real. I don't blame you. I don't blame you, my love. I also have a fear of being disliked. I have a fear of being misunderstood. I have a fear of, people twisting my intent. But you know what? I also trust my ability to hopefully iron out any misunderstandings if the other person is open. Thanks for listening to this whole jumbled, tangled thing on a plate. Thank you for receiving it.